guarding man-to-man, but there were times I had to get him man-to-man. And
favorite team that you guys love to face in your division?
Yours.
Yes, sir.
Like the games like we play against the Raiders, you might get 3 sacks. When they had Jamarcus Russell, which I did. So I got 3 sacks on them in the first half, right?
Yeah.
And I'm ready, and they take Tommy Maddox.
Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to West War Room Rivals, a special Sunday edition as we are recapping the NFL draft that ended yesterday. I got the Shovik brothers here in the studio with me as we're recording out of the JBW Solutions studios. Shout out to Jeff and the crew. What up, fellas? How's it going?
Hey, buddy. It's going. Post-draft, kind of rest day. It was a long few days.
It was a lot of content pushed out, a lot of excitement. And, a lot of surprising picks, I think, for days 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. But for the most part, did you guys enjoy the draft?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a fun time, right? Like you're excited to see who the new players are going to be. Are those players going to make the roster? And then, who's going to be the teams that kind of, make the reaches and who's going to, reach.
Yeah.
Rams.
I think for those that were there for our Thursday night draft day special, I think we were all shocked by that. I mean, I think I accidentally called it out. It was just more of tongue in cheek, was just going to say it. And the Rams made me look like a prophet. But I would have never in a million years thought that Ty Simpson would have gone that high. I'm sure he would have gone in the first round. I just don't think pick 13 to a Super Bowl contending team would have been on my bingo card. But that's I think the fun of the draft, right? Like surprising picks. I was actually more surprised to see some rivalry trades between the NFC East. That was more of a shocker to me, but hey, I made for a lot of great fun draft day stuff. So
yeah, I mean, and again, we'll start posting more clips of that episode because Cody and I were looking through it. There's a lot of stuff that we really liked from it. So we posted one a little bit ago. I think Cody has another one that he'll get here shortly. So there's a lot of stuff. It was a 3-hour episode, obviously. So
yeah.
Lack of clips aren't going to be one from that episode. I can tell you that.
Yeah. And shout out to my friends over there in the other time zones. For the West Coast folks, getting off at 8:00 is not that big a deal, but you guys, I think, logged off at 10, Caleb at 11, and you guys had work obligations literally within like 5 hours after that. So you guys toughed it through, and I'm glad that you guys made it in one piece at least. So.
Well, when we talked about it Thursday, the first round actually had some good pace to it there for a little bit. And we're like, hey, we're liking this. And then all of a sudden it was like, what the hell are they doing? Like,
right.
You don't have to make this thing 3 hours. Like, I get it. You want to, but.
Yeah. How many times was Cody like, why is there 13 commercials after every 10-second cut to ESPN?
Well, when we got to pick 20, we're like, okay, we're on the straightaway now. All it is just straight picks from here. From pick 20 to 28, we went through like 20 commercials, it felt like. And it was like, you guys, these picks have been in. Just call them out. Let's get this thing going. And I think I saw something on ESPN or one of the sports channels that was saying that this is the first year the draft went from 10 minutes to 8 minutes per pick. And they're like, oh, the draft time was only less than 3 hours for the first round. And I go, it needs to be shorter, because it was still too long. Like these picks are already in. Let's get them on the stage. Let's get going. We don't need a 3-hour Goodell on the stage, essentially, is what it felt like. So,
well, it's a massive improvement because his first draft ever was over 6 hours.
No, thanks.
I couldn't imagine doing a live for 6 hours. I mean,
we wouldn't.
No, we would catch up with you guys at pick 29.
Would have been a lot tougher.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely no way. All right, guys, let's just get right into it here. So obviously the breakdown here, and Austin was kind enough to make us this graphic here that kind of showcased the AFC West division, and specifically the amount of picks that we had. Of course, the Raiders had 10, then you have the Chiefs, Chargers. Chargers ended up with, I think, 8, if I'm not mistaken. They started the day with only 5. So they got a lot in return with a couple of trades. And then the Broncos, of course, having 7 picks. Again, a couple of draft day trades that gave them a couple extra picks, because I don't think you guys had very many going into the draft, and certainly no first round picks. But Austin, I'll kick it off with you. How did you feel your Chiefs did with the picks that they had and in the rounds that you guys got your players? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's always funny looking on social media on some of the fans because it's wild that no matter how well you think the draft went, you're not going to make everyone happy, which is wild. Because to me, especially after that first night, I was stoked. I mean, we walked away with the number 1 corner and the number 1, number 2 defensive tackle, depending on the rankings you looked at. So I was excited. I saw a lot of people. I didn't want to get into a lot of arguments or anything on there, but it's like, you know, they don't waste any draft capital helping Mahomes. And I had to remind them we have a first-round receiver, a second-round receiver, first-round left tackle, second-round center, second-round left guard, third-round tight end. So you can't say we haven't spent draft capital to help him. I think what hurts the Chiefs last year was those one-possession games. And in those one-possession games, it's getting off the field defensively, which is pass rush, essentially, but just defense in general. So we added to the cornerback room. We added to the D-line. We did get a couple weapons in the later rounds. So honestly, I like the draft. I like how it went for the Chiefs. The only one that's questionable really is taking the quarterback in the 7th round. I mean, I know Mahomes hasn't, you know, maybe lived up to standards the last few years, but I don't think there's any reason to bring in competition. And just as a joke, it won't be. I don't think it'll be competition. But again, if the Chiefs had, you know, Nussmeier as like a 3rd round grade, and he's sitting there and you're picking at what was like 246 or whatever. Yeah. You just seem like that's a great value, right? So why not? It's a 7th round pick. But other than that, I like it. You know, I think we waited a little longer on the edge, but that's just because I think Pete Woods at 29, we weren't expecting that. So you kind of just take it. But all in all, I love the Chiefs draft. I obviously love the attack defense. I think that was the main issue last year. And it looks like the front office kind of agreed.
Yeah. Corey, what were your initial thoughts when you saw our AFC West rivals draft picks?
Yeah, again, I said from the beginning I didn't want the Chiefs to get Caleb down, so they didn't get Caleb down, so I really don't care about the rest of their draft. Like, we'll talk more about it later. I mean, they got what I feel like they did. You can see by the first, 4 picks right there, defense. They knew what they needed. 2 corners. Canada's not going to be one to sleep on. He'll get some run. He's a very athletic corner. You know, just looking at the tape and the highlights of him, he's very prototypical of what Spags looks for in a corner. He has good recognition, good recovery. So that's one that, yes, it may be down there in, you know, the middle of their draft, but don't sleep on that one. And then the one that really stands out is the Emmett Johnson one, the running back from Nebraska, because originally Denver fans and me included were kind of looking at Emmett Johnson as an option for us. And obviously we went Jonah Coleman, so the Chiefs went with Johnson. He's going to compete for some carries here. Now we know it's Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is going to do his thing, but now you put a little competition with Rashad Smith, with DeMarcado. So it wouldn't surprise me if Johnson gets a little bit of a run too, because he's a very explosive guy as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think too, but what's interesting is obviously the Chiefs had the 2 first-round picks, which on draft night we were kind of just like, man, really don't want the Chiefs to walk away with the number 1 cornerback in the draft, and also at the highest, you know, number 2 defensive tackle in the first round, which, you know, on defense, that's essentially what they needed from this offseason is two main positions right there that were already addressed. Then they go a little bit of ways before they get, you know, Johnson and their 4th round pick. So I think that this is fine. I'm not a Chiefs fan, of course, but I think they found value in later rounds, which is what they're notorious for. And all things considered, like the 3 picks that they wanted to really hit home runs on, which is their 2 first rounders in that 2nd round. I think Thomas is going to be a very interesting player on that defense, on that edge part. So we'll see. But Corey, over to your Broncos. Your Broncos didn't have a first round pick, of course, because of Jalen Waddle. So how did you feel your Broncos did with the no first round picks and essentially starting on day 2?
Yeah, so if you guys tuned into the TikTok the other night, I had to talk some Bronco fans off the ledge a little bit for not having the pick beginning. They traded, and then they finally ended up with the D tackle from A&M. guys, look at this guy. He's going to be a good depth piece. Now he's not going to come in and he's not going to be your starter. You have your starters on that line, right? What did we not have last year? We didn't have the depth, right? Well, he's the more physical of the two from Texas A&M. The other one was more of the speed, undersized guy. This one's the more physical. He can be the run stuffer. So I still don't know if I was able to talk Bronco fans into that pick. I personally was okay with this pick because, again, it's the position we needed. Did I think it was going to be their first pick that they had in the draft? No, not necessarily. And then the second thing is, you may notice on there, you don't see a linebacker there until around 7, Mr. Irrelevant. And that was another thing that Broncos fans were kind of poo-pooing their pants over basically the whole weekend. Guys, I think if you understand, Sean and George have been telling you guys all off season, they like their roster. They like where they're at with their roster. That includes Alex Singleton. That includes Justin Strnad. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to go out and find another linebacker. I told you guys to check out the free agent list. There's still some free agents out there that they could still bring in for camps that could still possibly make the roster. Now, does it make me, feel any better about the linebacker position? No. But let's look at Jolly, the tight end. He is going to come in and he's going to be a playmaker right away. So, he's a guy that doesn't have to line up on the line. He'll line up in the slot. They'll move him around a little bit. He's going to add another little element to, what Evan Ingram's doing. So, all in all, we'll give the grades for the draft later, but hey, I'm okay with how this draft kind of turned out for the Broncos.
Yeah. Austin, what was your perspective do you have any thoughts on the Broncos draft picks?
Yeah, I actually really liked 4 of their picks specifically. Obviously, unbiased opinion. I like the Texas A&M D tackle. Watching Denver last year, if there was an area that they could got defensively, it was running up the middle. Anything up the middle on their defense. I'm not saying this guy solves all your problems, but he's one more person to help stop that, and that's what he's good at. So I think it was a position of need, and it was a really good guy for that. Don't expect him to come in and be a 15 sack guy.
No.
Like that's not what he is. He's not Chris Jones in his prime, where he's causing havoc as a rushing the passer. This dude's going to come in and just be a wall, and I think that's great value there. I like the double dip at tight ends. I like both of them a lot. I think getting Bentley at 256, that's incredible value. I thought he was one of the better tight ends in this draft. And for them to snag him to Mr. Irrelevant Eve is insane. And then Red Murdoch, I know he was Mr. Irrelevant, but I actually like him. I like him a lot.
17 forced fumbles.
Yeah. Yeah, he's forced a lot of turnovers in his career. Is he going to come in and he's probably not going to start day one, start maybe some special teams and get a couple packages defensively. But I think in a year or two, after he kind of gets comfortable and maybe adjusts to the speed, I think you're going to end up looking back and being like, wow, another Mr. Irrelevant pick is kind of good. So I like those 4 picks. I'm impartial to the rest. Jonah Coleman, I think it's just, there's a lot of okay running backs in their backfield now. And when that's the case, I think he has a really good chance to carve out a role. It could very much be a hot hand situation. I think RJ Harvey's minimal role is safe. He's going to be the receiving back for sure.
Yep.
But other than that, I think him and Dobbins could really carve out kind of a hot hand role. So again, all in all, I think Denver did well for what they started with, right? I think it was a second round pick or third that they started with? It was
a second.
Yeah, second.
They ended up trading into the third. Like they didn't end up picking the second round.
That's what I thought. So this whole draft class from Denver is from the third round and later. So all in all, I think they did really good. Just given, they didn't draft the first 2 rounds.
Now, real quick, I have a question for you guys. As you look at Denver's picks right here, I mean, you can tell it looks like they drafted depth pieces. Like there's not, outside of maybe Jolly, maybe. I look at these guys as being more like, backups for now, as they're in a position where they can develop these guys. And even with the A&M D tackle, man, he's going to learn behind Zach Allen, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach. There's some other guys that are on the roster that Denver's going to be able to do that. So does that look like that to you guys, or am I just kind of maybe thinking it as a Broncos fan that this is more of a, piecing together your depth now?
From the outside perspective, I think Cage Casey is more of a work with him and see if he can be a McGlinchey replacement in the future. And then I don't know anything about Miles Scott, the safety. I don't even know if Miles is his first name.
He was a 3-time captain at Illinois, best friends with Pat Bryant, teammates of Pat Bryant. So I look at him as maybe being a hybrid linebacker almost. I don't know. But the other ones, I think all of those are going to come in and actually have roles. Mm-hmm. I think Bentley and Jolly will both have quality roles. On the D tackle, I think he's going to be crucial in games like Kansas City if they use K9 against those teams like Derrick Henry, James Cook, where teams want to establish the run. They're all going to have. I think Red Murdoch could carve out a role just given how shallow it is. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's depth pieces, but I can see a large part of these having decent roles year one.
I think this just fits with the theme of what the Broncos have been doing since the free agency. They're not signing big name guys that are going to come in and be a new starter on the linebacking side of it. They're not going to come in and be the new fill in whatever position, Bronco fans think that they need. This just kind of fits what the theme has been. They're re-signing a majority of their guys to come back. They're going to run it back again. And the team is still relatively young. Even without these draft picks, the Broncos team is not like long in the tooth. I feel like that they've still got like a 2-year window before you start worrying about aging and contracts. And these players right here, granted, they're all day 3 draft picks, but I still feel like, very similar to what Austin said, is they're rotational guys. They're probably going to have some meaningful playing time, but for the most part, they're not asked to come in here like, and I'm only going to use my Raiders for an example. They're not asked to come in here like Stukes and be potentially the starting safety day one. They've got guys that they can learn from, be behind, and learn from a great defensive-minded defensive coordinator, also Sean Payton. So I feel like this is just more or less fitting the theme of what the Broncos have basically been doing, which is they're going to bring the band back together. All these pieces are more complementary, not star-studded pieces, not flashy trade up, select this person in the second round, and this guy's going to be an all-pro. They weren't looking for all-pros. They're looking for football players that are just going to, be tough and fit the mindset of what the Broncos did last year, in hopes in duplicating, getting as far as they did, if not further, which is what we've always been talking about this whole offseason. So that's what I think what they did with this draft. I don't see any like trade ups. You got to get this hot name. We got to get that XYZ. They just got guys in valuable positions. They didn't over trade. They didn't give up too much. They felt like these guys can be enough. And honestly, I look at these, and Jolly's probably the only one that stands out as like could be carving in some starting time with Ingram, or could get filled into that starting role pretty quickly. But, like Austin said, Casey's probably more of a developmental kind of guy. Coleman's going to be a rotational guy. Scott's going to be in the rotation, but he's not meant to be the starter. So that just fits the theme of what the Broncos brass has been doing this offseason.
All right, guys, keep the comments coming in the comment section. We're going to get to the comments here after we finish up kind of discussing these other two teams. So again, we appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, give this a like, share it out. If you're on YouTube and on Facebook as well, and X, I see we have some X reposting here, so that's awesome as well. So again, guys, thank you for tuning in. So keep the comments coming, and we'll get to those here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, no Caleb tonight. He's having some family time, so we're going to jump to the Chargers real quick, and then we'll head off to the last team in the AFC West. So, Shovik brothers, did you guys have any opinions of the Chargers drafts? They actually went from, I think, 5 picks to 8 picks. We noted that at the top of the show with some second-day trades. So what were your guys' thoughts of the Chargers draft overall?
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound like a hater. I think the first few picks were okay. I don't know. It's hard for me because these weren't the guys that I was kind of like locked in for the Chiefs, right? Like not necessarily same positions or anything. Like we didn't need offensive linemen really. So I didn't deep dive into it. I think Mesidor was a home run pick in the first round. I think fits exactly what was needed for him. And then Brennan Thompson, if he can pan out, he's going to be their nice speedster. But other than that, it looks like they hit positions in need. Nailed their first round pick, which is always what you want to seem, right? You never want to leave the first round and be like, I hope we got the right guy in round one. So I think they did. So I think all in all, the Chargers did what they could do to start the weekend with 5 picks. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about their picks because I didn't really scout, guards and centers and whatnot. But to me, it looks like they did what they should have done positionally.
Yeah, and to kind of go off what Austin said, I love the Mesidor pick. I'd actually talked to Caleb during one of our lives that we had that if it wasn't the guard from Penn State, which obviously it wasn't because he was drafted before, which we kind of thought he would be, it was an edge, right? And we talked Mesidor, we talked Keldrick Falk, and maybe one of the guys that may have fallen to him. So I love that pick. Here's the thing with the Chargers, right? They're kind of in a similar situation as the Broncos where their roster is okay. It's good enough. What their big goal was to get better on the offensive line. And I think they did this not only by signing the free agent that they brought in, Biadish, but now I think Slaughter's going to plug into a guard. As a guard, you got your 2 tackles, and I believe Strange is going to be the other guard. So you got your offensive line, which that should be improved. So I don't think the Chargers necessarily needed to use the draft as like, I think that's why they ended up trading quite a few to get other picks. So I think the Chargers accomplished with what they were trying to do this whole offseason. And that's, they got their swing offensive lineman with a couple guys at the back end of the draft that maybe carve out a roster spot. So yeah, I don't know what Caleb would say or if he would agree with that, but I think the Chargers accomplished what they wanted to.
Yeah, I think on Tuesday's episode, maybe we'll get more of an opinion and a grade from him. I would say their 4th round picks, they had 3 of them. This is kind of like the main conversation with Thompson, Burke, Smith. I feel like for what the Chargers are looking for, those are going to be really pivotal. Mesidor, of course, in division, we're all kind of agreeing that's like probably their best pick that they made. That'll probably make the most noise that they needed on their defense. Slaughter for that offensive line, the way that they're going to move him, as you mentioned, Corey, is going to be very important if they get both of their tackles back healthy. But also, though, as a reference with Burke, he can be a tackle in rotation that can fill in for either one of the injured tackles in Slater and I'm forgetting the other one right now. Joe Alt, excuse me. And so just knowing that, looks like that they've got enough depth. I'm wondering if they're okay with Thompson at that 4th pick. I know that receiver was something that was on Caleb's radar that he wanted the Chargers to go for. I mean, we'll see how he feels about this one or if it's a home run for him. And, kind of like the Raiders are in a similar situation, like the Chargers are in a similar situation where they've got a bunch of B-roll receivers, but do you have that one alpha guy? And I don't know if he's going to be that. I don't know if that's going to be Harris in this upcoming season, who they drafted, I think, in the 4th round last year. So I'm just curious on the Chargers' 4th round picks are probably going to be very vital, and just to see how do they fit in this new offensive scheme that McDaniels is going to roll out with Harbaugh, of course, and their new defensive coordinator, who has big shoes to fill with Jesse Mentor leaving. And again, they have a lot to work on, but for all in all, I think the pivotal spots they did address in some form or fashion. So that's what I'll say about that. And now we'll move on to the last team, which is the Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, they had the number 1 overall pick, led the night off with Fernando Mendoza, which we already knew was going to be selected. But it's more of the day 2 to day 3 draft picks that I think were more eye-catching, and I'll speak for myself here. There are some picks on here I saw and I was happy about, but also surprised that we went that direction with the amount of depth that was available. I am not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and act like that Dalton Johnson, Arizona safety, I thought was oh, what a home run hit as our second safety. I felt like maybe a Kilgore at that spot would have been a little bit better. But again, some of the reports I read, which was Dalton Johnson and Stukes, basically they were, I think, 3 or 4 year starters together, and they just had great communication and both high IQ in football, which is great. But again, I just was looking at some other prospects that we had talked about and thought, okay, well, I can see the idea for that, but now let's see what it looks like. I really like Washington in the 5th round, McCoy in the 4th round, which was essentially probably the biggest draft steal of the night, but it's also a very, very big swing because, you know, if he stays healthy, probably one of the best cornerbacks that was in this draft. But if he's not healthy, then, you know, it's a 4th round pick that just didn't pan out. So the risk to reward is a bit even. And it looks today as like it's a great pick for the Raiders. But again, we don't know how his health is going to be come the regular season or the rest of his career. But all in all, like, I feel like the Raiders addressed some stuff. I think we addressed wide receiver a little bit too late. You know, that 6th round pick in Benson. I'm sure he was a good Oregon product. I would have liked to seen us go a little bit higher quality in receiver, but you know, I think for the most part, the Raiders need to address defense, which I feel like they did a decent job at. And offense, I think they did a really, really good job at with Washington Jr., Mendoza, you know, Zune.
It's Zune.
Zune. Okay. I got to get that pronunciation right. But Zune there is a good pick because he's versatile in both tackle guard and center potentially. But, you know, I think all in all, one of the things about the Raiders draft, and I even keep telling you guys this, as much as it sounds great when Raider fans or content creators talk about how great this selection is or the value or this and that and the other, the point of it is what can the Raiders coaching staff do to get them ready, get them pro ready, get them integrated in the offense or defense or whatnot to see how they can impact the team. I mean, the Raiders, I think, did a decent job, but I want to see now what they do in setting up Mendoza for success, what they do with this defense, especially with this young core of defense that's coming in, because there's a lot of defensive pieces that are going to be integrated with this team. And I'm just really curious to see what the Raiders do. But ultimately, I'm happy with the draft all in all. But again, as a skeptic Raider fan, I just need to see what they do now in training camp, preseason, and when the regular season starts.
Yeah, we're just
no crash outs.
The draft.
Yep.
That's
no, I mean,
I'm about no crash outs.
I'm very happy about it. This is the years of excitement of previous drafts where, oh, the Raiders hit a home run, and yet here we are drafting again in the top 10. I'm just being more apprehensive of like, I like the names on here, but let's see what it looks like on the field.
No, tonight, Cody's happy.
Yes.
That's what matters. Cody's happy.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on the Raiders draft all in all? We had the most picks in the division at 10. I think we started off the evening with 10. We shuffled around and ended with 10 regardless. But what were your guys' thoughts on what the Raiders did?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the Raiders crushed it. And how I can define that is you made the pick you were supposed to make 2 at 1, no matter where we had Mendoza ranked as a prospect. You made the pick you were supposed to. I don't even think the Raiders could have messed that up. But I think from McCoy down is where my favorite part of your draft is. Mm-hmm. I like the McCoy pick. I like the Washington Jr. pick. I like the Dalton Johnson pick just because watching Big 12 football, that Arizona secondary was actually legit. I mean, they had a 3rd safety drafted to the Chargers.
And all their corners basically too.
Yeah, and they're like, so their secondary is legit. I like bringing them in together for the reason you said, and I mentioned that to my brother the other night. Their chemistry, that's a very underrated thing for secondary players, right? How many times you see a big play happen and it's because of miscommunication or like we didn't, miscommunication, didn't communicate, etc. So I think that's a great pick. I like Dalton Johnson individually, but I think pairing him up with Stukes was massive. Mm-hmm. I like Masses at corner. That is a mid to late round corner. I was kind of keying in for the Chiefs when I didn't know we were going to go one in the top 10. I thought we would keep our trend of mid to late round ones. So that's really where I dug in, and I liked Masses. Malik Benson, I think, will be a very, very good player for the Raiders. That's a sleeper receiver. I know you have PTSD as a Raiders fan, but Kubiak does know how to use people. And so I think that makes the pick of Benson a little easier to swallow. Because I think he is a very good product out of Oregon. I think that's going to be a great pick. And then, you're making your last pick there towards the end of the draft. It's never a bad decision to go trenches, no matter what, right? Like, we're not going to sit here and say a future Hall of Famer. Could he be? Yes. But at the end of the day, your 10th selection in the draft, you go trenches, always smart. So
Mhm.
I personally love the middle of your draft to the end. Crawford at edge, maybe a little bit of a reach, but if he's your guy, he's your guy.
Right.
Zune will be underrated, not because he's versatile, but just because I think he's good.
Mhm.
And in a Kubiak system where he's athletic, versatile, I think that was a great pick as well. So all in all, I think the Raiders absolutely crushed the draft. You said there were some other players value-wise you could have maybe gone. I think we all could say that for our teams.
100.
Right.
Even with the Chiefs, where we drafted Mason Thomas, it was a position in need, but there was a couple other edges where I'm like, I think he fits us better.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to trust the professional saying he's what's best for what we're looking for. So like with the Raiders, I'd absolutely crush it. I thought maybe a little more offensive line would have been in the books.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the only question mark for me is like, are they really happy with what's in house already?
Well, and what I was going to say after everyone's point was this told me that they trust their offensive line more than maybe I thought. Because in a lot of my mock drafts that I've showed you guys, I was split between a D tackle, an edge, and majority was offensive line guards and tackles. But this tells me that they have trust in Colton Miller being healthy, in Charles Grant, who we drafted last year, in Putnam, who we're bringing back, in, fill in. And obviously Linderbaum was the big free agency signing that we had. Jackson Powers Johnson coming back.
Right? Still,
what was that?
You still have JPJ too?
Yeah, Jackson Powers Johnson. He was injured, I think, the final stretch of the season, but he's now healthy. So we still have him, who was, I think, playing guard, or he was a center in college, top-rated one. And then also there's Caleb Rogers, who was another offensive lineman that we drafted last year during John Spytek and Pete Carroll. So this tells me I think the Raiders are trusting what they have at offensive line, even though they're adding Zune, who is versatile in 3 different positions. He doesn't have to be the guy to protect Mendoza day one. Like Colton's going to be that, but you have all the other younger guys that maybe you can coach up with the staff and get this offensive line respectable, more so than what it looked like last year.
Yeah. And I do want to add before I forget, if anyone who's watched the show from the beginning, we know my love for defense, specifically trenches, but I also love corners. I do want to say if the Raiders trot out, and again, pending health, but if the Raiders trot out McCoy and Masses and Teron Johnson week 1,
Mm-hmm.
there will be ups and downs, right? Like a couple rookies and then Teron Johnson new to the Raiders, so got to get feel. But long term, that could end up being, I don't want to say an elite trio, but that's going to be a very good trio of corners, because don't sleep on Masses. I think he is for sure going to start.
Oh yeah.
Day one.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on what the Raiders have. I think it was just that good of a find for the Raiders. So
Well, the Raiders didn't have a great secondary last year. Like Darren Porter Jr. didn't hardly start. And again, that's more or less coaching, more or less. And, we did have some guys that were there, but yeah, like Taron Johnson, again, we keep Stokes, we add these guys. Like this is a young, and it's going to be a lot of growing pains. Like no doubt they're probably going to get more nights than anything, but get a season or 2 of continuity and some communication. They might end up being like a tough secondary to play against. Not saying elite. I mean, Broncos are a great offense. Chiefs are a great offense. Chargers are a great offense. It's still going to be a tough nosed battle, but they would probably give more fits than give up as many yards as what previous secondaries on the Raiders used to do.
Yeah, and I think most of your contracts were 3-year contracts this year, right?
So more than likely 1 or 2 years.
Yeah,
correct.
So I'm thinking by the end of year 2 of those contracts and going into year 3, if they come back, I think that's when a lot of this draft and your roster can really start taking shape.
Right.
Again, it could be a really sped up process these days, and we can maybe start seeing it a few weeks into this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think our takeaway, and not to spend a lot of time on the Raiders, but again, they're the ones who probably needed to prove the most and take care of the most this offseason in the draft. I think the clear takeaway is the Raiders, since the beginning of the offseason into free agency and the draft, have proven that they have a plan that is actually looking like it's taken shape.
As
Like
optimistic as I want to be, I agree. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it's going to work. But what I'm saying is there's a clear path they're taking that you can see.
Right.
When's the last time you could say that for the Raiders? Like, you kind of just didn't know what the hell they were doing. But there's a clear path now on what they're trying to do.
Mhm.
And I think that alone is just a big win, not just in the draft, just in general for the Raiders.
Yeah. Corey, well, let's get you into this before we get to our AFC West grades.
Yeah. So again, I like the draft that you guys had, right? Obviously, you didn't mess it up with Mendoza. You know, I think 2 and 3. I mean, you can say what you want about them. I mean, they were needs, right? So the one I'm looking at is McCoy. Obviously, I think he's going to be fine until I hear otherwise. And I get it. He's probably going to have another surgery. He's probably going to miss the next season. I don't think the Raiders are worried about that. I don't think the Raiders are looking. Again, let's be realistic here. The Raiders aren't competing for the division this next season. I know a lot can happen, a lot can change, a lot. You know, we've seen teams have flips, but I don't look at this roster and say that quite yet.
Right.
Washington, if he can get the ball security under control, I think he'll be fine. I think he's still a lot to learn, right? And I think he's not coming in to be the guy. You got Genty, so he can learn behind Genty. Obviously, you got a good offensive staff, so they'll work on that with him. I'm not going to agree with you whatsoever about Malik Benson. He was my sleeper going into this draft. I remember making the comment when he name popped up on the Raiders pick the other day. Yesterday, I was pissed. I was like, damn it. I really was hoping Denver would maybe peep at him towards the back end because I think he went kind of where I thought he would. It's not like that's not a reach. That's kind of where I thought he would end up. So I like that pick for you guys as well. I'm with Austin on the Massis one. I think a lot of people thought he would be higher. And even the guys on ESPN, take that for what it's worth. They were hyped about it. Louis Riddick was pretty hyped about that pick. So Louis is actually one of the few that I don't hate on ESPN that I can actually listen to.
He's annoying, but he knows his talent.
Well, he's also a Raiders legend, but yes.
So here's what I'll say. I see 10 names up there.
Yep.
If you can hit on 3 or 4 of them, you're fine.
That's a great rate.
Are all 10 of these guys going to pan out? No. Are all 10 of these guys going to make the roster? Not. I mean, there's still a chance.
Not likely. Right.
So if we can come back in 2 or 3 years and say, hey, you got 4 guys out of this draft class that are still on your team and actually producing some kind of thing, then you're doing something.
Most importantly, you have to have one name.
Yeah, there's one name on here that has to pan out.
Right.
If in 2 years you say you only got one name out of this draft and it's Fernando Mendoza, it's a win.
Yep.
Right. 100%. The most important position.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's move up.
Yeah, I'm not going to do I wasn't going to do in your Cheerios and talk about, is Mendoza a bust? I think there was enough talk of that the other night. And again, you're not going to hear me talk about that as far as him. He hasn't played a game yet. And we got to give him a chance. He got drafted into a better situation than previous Raiders quarterbacks could have.
And most number ones.
Yeah.
Well, he's actually going to have an offensive line. He has an offensive-minded head coach.
Well, hang on.
Question mark on offensive line still.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But the offensive coordinator.
We would agree that our offensive I'll say I believe the Raiders' offensive line is better than, let's say, the Jets.
No.
I just need them to be better than they were last year.
I agree. When we have Brendan Carroll, that's not even doing game film with his unit.
No, I know,
that's a problem.
Like you said, it's the same name. So until I actually see them perform better,
right,
I can't say that they are better. But Kubiak is a huge advantage.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the comments later on in the show, you guys. So let's get into some draft grades. Austin,
well, hang on. Let's go ahead and get a couple. We don't have to go through all of them. Let's go through some of the top parts real quick as we get here before the prospect ones.
Go ahead.
Oops, there we go. All right, so back up here. So obviously, Cody, you made the comment the other night about Mom. She was super stoked about the Chiefs getting our Mason Thomas. And, while I was watching your earlier live with the Boone Boys, she had called Austin and she was talking to Austin and excited about that. So,
okay, right on. Thanks, Mama.
About that. And that's what I can hang my hat on.
Corby Hayton.
That's
yeah, I can tell you after knowing him my whole life, it's true.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah. And again, if you guys don't, go follow this guy on X. He's fun. He's got some good stuff out there as well.
Fantastic.
Great content as well. So again, he was one of the reasonable ones I was watching and paying attention to the other night on X. So great comment there. He is going to be a really good run defender. And then, as always, our boy
Denver Dev.
What up, Denver Dev?
Cage Casey will more than likely be a replacement for Ben Powers. I'd assume he primarily plays guard. I am about 50-50 on. I do think there is a small possibility of this, but let's peep those outside tackles, guys. They're not getting any younger, and we're not saying this guy's going to come in and start next season or the season after. Garrett Bowles still has lots of football left in him.
Our boy
McGlinchey, on the other hand, let's see, because his contract's going to be coming up. So if this happens to be a Ben Powers replacement, I'm fine with that. But I also look at Palcho and Big Fred Crum as well. So we'll see there. And then last one before we get moved on here, Denver Dev again. McCoy, as I'm seeing, might miss half the season minimum. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards the whole season.
Right.
But that's not a bad thing either. Because again, the Raiders can sit on that, right?
I think he performed at the combine, if I'm not mistaken. So he was healthy.
I didn't see the combine as much as I should have. That's my fault.
I think he put up combine stats, but he did he did the 40, he did a couple of other drills, but I think it was when they did the physical that they mentioned the knee, which is what came up. So in theory, right?
Yeah, but even that, where you drafted him, if he misses a full season.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that like we drafted him fourth and it's a waste. Like if anything, if it doesn't hit, it's a fourth round pick that didn't make it. I mean, that is pretty common in the NFL, unfortunately. But if he does hit, it's first round talent at that level, which is what's important, because if he's even remotely close, I think it was not this past season, but the season prior to that, where he could have gone in the first round last season, then yeah, it's a home run for the Raiders.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I want to make this one rapid fire. Give us just one player. Cody, I'm going to start with you. One prospect that you're excited about that your team drafted that's not an undrafted one. We'll talk about undrafted ones here shortly. You can't say Mendoza either.
No, I'm not going to say Mendoza. I have two in mind, but I'm going to give this one, and it's Washington Jr. because he's a second running back that Kubiak wanted to run with. He's a bigger in size, so it's a different dynamic for the offense. To your credit, if his fumbling habits just kind of improve, I wouldn't even say go away, but improve, it could be a really good dynamic for the Raiders to have a really good dynamic duo in Genty and also Washington Jr. That helps Mendoza in the passing game, especially if you have an effective run game, in my opinion. And it helps that you have Brock Bowers, probably top 2 tight end in the league, that you can lean on once that run game gets going, with presumably these two. Again, depending on who the Raiders may be signed during training camp or this, that, and the other. But assuming that Washington is that secondary back that comes in there, I like this one as kind of like a sneaky pick.
That was terrible rapid fire.
Sorry.
Jesus, Cody. Just say the name.
Homeboy's excited about his team. Be a fan. It's bold of you to say top 2 tight end in the NFL now that Broncos got Jolie, but that's all right. Go. And before people freak out and it was a joke.
Yeah, people will.
He wasn't kidding. He was full 10 toes down in that.
You guys seeing some of our clips and you guys freaking out over stupid stuff. Like, chill out. All right, rapid fire, go.
Peter Woods.
There you go. And I obviously just said mine. Jolie, tight end.
We'll say Caleb is definitely going to be Mesidor.
I was gonna say Burke.
Not Burke. I was gonna say Slaughter, but we'll see. We'll talk to Caleb again on Tuesday about that. So, great job on the rapid fire.
Not Cody,
except for me.
All right, so I think with this one too, we'll each just grade our own teams. We won't go through.
I can go through rapid fire.
I can go through rapid fire. I won't talk as much.
So let's start with the Chargers real quick. Cody.
I'll go C.
I was gonna say C+.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go C.
C for Chargers.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, I'll stick with C. We'll talk to Caleb about this. Maybe he can talk me out of it. We'll see his thoughts. Chiefs.
A-.
Hot damn.
I'll go a solid B.
Easy enough. So you're going B for the Raiders or B for the Chiefs?
Chiefs.
We're
doing Chiefs.
Oh shit. My bad. I'm gonna go. I don't want to go A.
Go A-. Then.
B-.
B-.
All right.
Fuck the drop.
Broncos.
Depends how you're grading. I want to say A+, just because of what they did with what they had. But if we're just taking the players in general, I'm gonna go B plus.
Yeah, Bronco fans would even shit their pants here, and you say A plus.
They nailed it with what they had.
Cody,
I'm gonna say B minus only because again, you guys didn't draft for all pros. You guys drafted for rotation, so I'm gonna just say B minus.
yeah, I'm going B, and the only reason is because I only see one linebacker on there. If we would have double dipped at any position, it would have been linebacker. I know Austin said he liked the double dip at tight end.
Mhm.
I personally would have liked to double dip at linebacker. There's one name in particular that you guys heard me freak out about on TikTok Live the other night, but that's neither here nor there. So let's go to some league recon.
We're not grading the Raiders.
Oh yeah, we don't need to grade the Raiders.
Because we know it's an A plus. It's fine, guys.
I'm giving the Raiders an A.
It's an A.
Because I've been hurt, I'm gonna say B plus.
Oh shit, that's even better than I thought you were gonna. I had C in my head locked and loaded for you.
It's an F. They failed.
I mean, with you and your antics, sometimes that wouldn't have actually surprised me at all.
Well,
but
first off, the fact that Austin gave them an A tells me, and he also gave them an A last year too. So that tells me he is the biggest Raider fan I know because he's 10 toes down for the Raiders.
you just need to enjoy the kindness that we're putting on the Raiders right now, because it kind of seems to go out the window when the season begins.
Sure, but also I'm prepping myself because I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, guys, we're back. And
Well, we have about 14, 15 weeks to get you buttered up before.
Just so you don't think I'm too nice, I think Mendoza is ass.
there you go. That's what I like to hear. Thanks, Austin.
So let's move on to league recon. There's some obvious ones here, but I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. Winners and losers of the draft outside of the AFC West. Cody, let's start with you.
Oh man, I don't really like what the Cardinals did so much, nor the Rams. I think, ironically, those two NFC West teams didn't do great. So those would be my losers of the draft.
Cool. Winner for me is Cowboys. Getting Caleb Downs at 12.
100%.
Or I guess 11. They traded up one spot, didn't they? Getting Caleb Downs and then turning around and getting Malachi Lawrence. And then they made a draft day trade for D. Winters
They did.
from
Solid.
the Niners. So
Yep.
that was pretty solid. I know that doesn't technically count as draft, but
That counts as a draft night move.
yeah, draft night move. I think they were winners. Getting Caleb Downs, we all know how we all felt about Caleb Downs. To me, I'm not going to put the Rams as a loser because Stetson Bennett long term could be all right. That's one you're going to have to see.
Stetson Bennett.
Or sorry, he's the other quarterback. Ty Simpson. He's their backup.
He might not even be a team now.
That's true. To me, the loser is the Vikings.
Yeah.
I feel like taking Caleb Banks where they did, and then they double dipped on D tackle as well. I felt like they just didn't kind of know what they were doing during this whole draft. Could these picks pan out? Yeah, I love Caleb Banks. I do think, barring his foot, he's going to be just fine. But to me, I don't feel like they kind of knew what they were doing with their draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my winners are the Jets and Titans. Again, and before people freak out about the Jets not getting the quarterback, they had zero intentions of getting a quarterback this year. Anyone who knows football knows that. This was purely get what you need. They had deep enough talent in this draft that you can start piecing stuff together to get yourself ready for the quarterbacks next year. And let's point out real quick, they still got they got first round picks next year.
3 of them.
They're going to work their way up to the top 3 pick.
If they don't finish there.
Yeah. Because that was literally a conversation he and I had in the car
Yep.
when we were going to golf. We're
Mhm.
like sitting there thinking, like, holy shit, the Jets still have first round picks for next year that they can. They're
They
going
had
to
3 first rounds this year.
They still have Colts from Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like they still have picks next year that they're going to end up. They're going to F all those picks. We're moving up. We're going to get our quarterback. Now you better hope.
Mhm.
You better hope another team in front of you doesn't need that quarterback, but it's going to be real hard to turn down those first round picks.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, when the Chargers have the first overall pick, like you'll be able to trade up with them since they have their franchise quarterback. But yeah, no, Jets. I forgot about the Jets.
Yeah, and
Well-
I'm going to double down with the Cowboys. Caleb Downs. I like the Malachi Lawrence pick. I was telling our buddy who's a Cowboys fan that he reminded me a lot of DeMarcus Lawrence as far as like his get around, his ability on the edge. So yeah, again, I'm big on them. And as far as losers go, it's the other AFC West teams.
Nice. I will say honorable mention to for the league recon. Honorable mention would be for the New York Giants. I think they did pretty good from the first to the fourth round. Everything after that, it's kind of a wash. But
they didn't mess up the 5th and 10th pick like we said that.
They did really good, and also getting who's the receiver out of Notre Dame? I'm forgetting his name.
Not Malachi.
It was Malachi Fields, but they didn't get him, did they?
No, they got the other one.
Hang on, I just had it.
The amount of mock drafts I did, I should know this. Was it Malachi Fields or was he USC? Jacoby Lane was USC.
No, Malachi Fields. They got him in the 3rd round, and they got Colton Hood from Tennessee. So I feel like that they did pretty good with what they had in picks, and we'll see what Harbaugh.
NFC East, honestly.
Well,
no.
And I think an honorable mention, as much as it hurts, is the Bengals.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
You know, they got Dexter Lawrence with the 10th pick. Then they got Cassius Howe, up and coming. And then they also got my boy Takario Davis at corner. I want y'all to write that name down. Remember that name. I hope it's not true anymore now that he's a Bengal, but he is going to be one of the better cornerbacks in the league in a year or two if the Bengals don't screw it up. So I think Bengals did okay too.
I would have liked to see them go a little bit more offensive line, but that's okay.
Well, yes and no.
You can do enough with that offense still. It's been proven.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to protect Burrow. What's been costing them is giving up
defense,
basically everything. So they did what they needed to do, I think, to make Burrow happy. But I don't know if I'm with you. I don't know if they did enough to keep him protected.
Right.
So I get what you're saying.
All right. Moving on back into the AFC West a little bit. I want to talk about some undrafted guys because
love this.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to start with you because I know
I'm stoked.
I guess you can list them off, the ones because I know you had multiples. So go ahead and start.
Yeah. First of all, Jeff Caldwell from Cincinnati. If our receiver coach that we got now can work with his route running a little bit.
It's a big dude.
Huge dude, fast dude.
Probably one of the bigger receivers Kansas City's had with Andy Reid.
It's one of the biggest receivers Andy Reid's ever had anywhere at any point in his life. So Jeff Caldwell, Xavier Nwankpa, the safety from Iowa. He was somebody I wanted us to just draft in general in the later
All
runs.
the names that Austin put on TikTok Live the other night, guys.
Essentially. I can never say his, I think it's John Michael Gillenborg, the tight end
The
from
country
Wyoming.
singer.
That's
I love his song.
I was afraid I was going to say that, man. But yeah, he's a tight end from Wyoming. He is a freak athlete, but he is also a really good blocker. And I think he legitimately has a chance to make the Chiefs roster. A couple other ones I'm excited about. We got E.J. Smith, Emmitt Smith's son, running back from A&M. That was an awesome one.
Who won't make the team?
He won't make the team, but still kind of cool to have him. And then we also got, I believe, I forget his first name, but something Singleton, safety from Nebraska. He was another one that I was kind of keeping an eye on for the Chiefs late. So I think the Chiefs, again, they're probably appealing to these undrafted guys who kind of get to choose where they could go. So I think that's why they're able to land some of the players that they do on these lists. But I think they actually have a few names that could legitimately make the roster, if for nothing else, depth and special teams. So love the Chiefs undrafted free agent list.
And before we go on to the other teams, I do want to give a shout out to Kobe Baines.
Our boy.
Shout out.
2 invites, 2 rookie camp invites, Titans and the Jets. I was asking my brother earlier, I was like, who are you going with? And I'm like, at the same time, it's like, he just needs to go. I hope he gets a fair shake at it. I posted the comment earlier, that the clip that he had with us when he was on the show with us in February. So wishing him nothing but the best. Glad it wasn't the Raiders, but I still was hoping.
I was hoping to see him on our undrafted free agent list.
I was really hoping to see his name get called.
Same.
But I know he's gonna kill it wherever he goes. So again, shout out to War Room friends Kobe Baines, offensive lineman KU, who got a couple rookie camp invites. So with that, Cody, go ahead. Any undrafted guys that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I think 2 of the most notable ones are obviously from Indiana. We got EJ Williams, receiver, when he was with Fernando Mendoza. I don't know if he'll even make the roster. He may be just a guy on the depth chart for a minute or a practice squad, but I feel like at least that gives a receiver who understands Mendoza understands him to kind of get him comfortable. And then Roman Himby from Indiana, another running back. I feel like he is more likely to make the team than Williams. And I think again, another back who
really good running backs.
Yeah. So another back out of the backfield who's really good at pass catching to help Mendoza in the screen game, I think would be great. And then this one's a little bit of a sleeper one. This one's kind of, I think he's more of a fringe. I don't know how much of an impact, but I'm rooting for him, which would be Gary Smith III, the D tackle out of UCLA. I just want another person in the trenches for that 3-4 defense, a big body guy to kind of just be a run stopper and a disruptor. So if anything, just hoping that he does well, and he's one to look out for that I'm hoping for to just plug the middle a little bit and just cause some mayhem to, just disrupt a lot of offenses. I think that's what the Raiders need, especially at that position.
Nah, we'll just let Cody talk about the Raiders for undrafted guys. So for Denver, I'm only going to give you one name. And it's not that I hate the undrafted class, but there's one name that stood out, and it's Torian York, linebacker for Texas A&M. I do think this guy has starter potential. This guy was an absolute stud for Texas A&M. One of the best defenses in the country was led by this guy. To pair him up with his buddy, the D tackle from Texas A&M. So Torian York is my gem. And I said on X yesterday when I saw the signing that look out for this guy to be a starter very soon. He's a good player. And again, when you play on a winning program and you're part of a team that's usually traditionally really good on defense, this is a huge pickup for Denver. So very excited for him. All right, so let's get to a couple more here, starting back up top. So Denver Dev said his grades per team: Raiders A, Chiefs B, Chargers C+, B+.
All right, appreciate
it. We agree with those?
Yeah, Raiders got an A out of it. I like it.
Low on the Chiefs, but haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. Then Raiders will be competitive. That's coming from a Broncos fan. So, and again, Broncos fans know Kubiak, right? Like we're very familiar with said name. That's just kind of how it is. And then,
yeah, I mean, he's not going to make the Chiefs roster unless all hell breaks loose.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe if they didn't sign Kenneth Walker, he'd have a better opportunity, because then you guys probably would have prioritized running back in the draft. But
holy shit, yeah. Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. I was like, damn, if they didn't sign K9 and they were rolling in with this running back room. I mean, David Johnson could be a starting running back.
We would have went in thinking we could get Jordan or Jeremiah Love, and then then the Cardinals would be like, no.
Yeah, no.
They'd be like, yeah, we're not trading with you guys. We changed our mind. No take backs. So, a quick question for this: does the draft change the outlook of how you guys thought the AFC West may pan out? And again, it's way too early, but we obviously want to talk about this, and we'll get more in depth with this as we get closer to the season. But this is draft talk, so I want to know from you guys: does the draft change the outlook of the AFC West, Cody?
Gosh, I think what's tough to answer about that is it depends on which players hit. Like for the Raiders, there's the one position we all talked about that needs to hit for the Raiders to have any sort of success. So I would say the way that the AFC West drafted, yeah, it does change a little bit, because I do think that this draft has players that will be impactful for each team on there. So
I don't think it changes the outlook as far as what I will predict the standings to be, but I do think this draft brought the Chiefs and Chargers a little closer to Denver right now. Like we said, Broncos got good depth pieces and whatnot, but I think specifically the Chiefs got what we're expecting to be some high impact players, so that should bring us back closer to normal than this last year. So I do think it, and even with the Raiders and how they drafted, I think it'll make them more competitive. So I don't know if it really changes Denver being the favorites or not, but I do think it kind of tightened the group on how close the teams are.
I think the AFC West had one of the better ones. Now you can look at the NFC East as possibly having one. But we kind of made the comment a few times throughout the draft that we felt like a lot of teams did pretty good in this draft. Now, we're not sitting here saying every team got it perfect. Every team in here got an A. but it felt like teams were picking players that fit what they were looking like, their needs.
Right.
Well, and what did we say a lot of times leading up to the draft? This wasn't a very superstar top heavy draft, but we felt like there was so much really good talent middle to the end of the draft. And I think that's why we think every team did well. That's because there was a lot of talent in this draft. And again, there's going to be some superstars we didn't expect to be superstars, and some ones we expected to be superstars be busts and all of that. But there was a lot of talent in this draft, and I think a lot of teams did really well for that reason. And we said it time and time again, is this draft was more deep in talent than top heavy.
Right. I agree with that.
So as we move, so we have some dates here, and we won't get too wild with it as we finish up here tonight. So obviously the upcoming next one is the schedule release could be May 13th or May 14th. So be on the lookout for that, because we might do it live that night. We'll see what night it ends up falling on. But again, that's another big night for all of us as we find out who we're playing. We know who we're playing now. We're seeing when and where, because then we're just that much closer. So,
and with all the international games, we're just another kind of aspect to look at.
Yeah, seeing how many games Jacksonville can get in England or London or whatever, so that way they can be the London Jaguars.
Niners, Rams are already playing in Australia or whatever.
Yeah. Well, because the Seahawks are opening up Wednesday night. The league opens on Wednesdays.
Hey. What's one of our show nights too? Stupid. So let's get into a couple dates here. So Broncos optional camp starts May 4th, OTAs June, and obviously training camps July. Chargers have already started their offseason stuff. Their voluntary mini camps June 16th through 18th, with their mandatory camps the same time. Training camps mid-July. Chiefs OTAs 420, so they've already kind of gotten into those.
Isn't that confusing? Our voluntary camp is June 16th to 18th, but mandatory June 16th to 18th. Is it voluntary or mandatory?
Well, I could have also typed
it's voluntold.
Voluntold, yeah. So, and then obviously the Chiefs will obviously be July for theirs as well up in St. Joseph. And then the Raiders have already got their offseason activities kicked off April 7th. Their voluntary camp's already passed. This is 20 through the 22nd, as I typed like a
202.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then OTAs late May through early June, mandatory camps June 6th through 11th, and then training camps mid-July. So again, there's a lot of things coming up so again, I encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel, because we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about. And we won't do like who we're thinking Rookie of the Year. We'll save all that stuff, but we have a lot of things that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. So I have one last question. Again,
we might have the same one.
I mean, it is possible. So again, we've been through free agency, we've been through the draft. Are there any other moves you want to see your team make as we head into training camp? Go.
The one I would like to see is Cam Jordan. But there's also a part of my heart that hopes the Chiefs just come in and snipe AJ Brown from the Patriots.
Oh shit.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
That it's basically a done deal that AJ Brown's traded to them. It would just be funny if June 2nd, everyone woke up to AJ Brown traded to the Chiefs.
God, that would suck.
Cody.
There is nothing that comes to mind that I want the Raiders to in terms of another move. There's nothing that comes to mind that I want them to do at the moment.
It's more just get those rookies in there and start learning the playbook.
Yeah, like the offseason dates that you mentioned, kind of want that to be there now, so that way these rookies can get in. Mendoza got the playbook on the 7th when OTA kind of activity started up. We knew that because he said okay. I don't care. But no, I think I want this offseason program to get started. We need to get these guys ready to go. So no major moves at the moment. If I see anything, I'll let you guys know, but there's nothing that jumps out at the screen for me.
Yeah,
Raiders are so good that we're good to go.
We're back. We're back. Austin, Corey, count your days, guys.
Shit.
3rd and 4th place right there.
We'll continue to talk as those moves continue to happen. We're still recording throughout, the week. We just obviously the one show, whether or not we have a guest, which we'll talk about here in a second. So believe it or not, Cam Jordan's not really there for me. I mean, would I love it? Absolutely 100%. But I still want to see maybe a linebacker or two brought in, whether that's via free agency, because, you know, cuts are going to be happening soon, camp cuts, all this other stuff. So is there going to be, you know, a linebacker or two that may become available, or are you looking at like a Bobby Wagner? Are you looking at an Okereke? Someone who can come in to add a little bit more competition there to go along with the depth. I know Bronco fans are freaking out because they're moving some guys around in certain positions, and they're like, oh my God. So, and I'm not saying that the argument for it's okay. Like, again, I'm going to tell Bronco fans we're all right. It's going to be fine. Just get to training camp, as Cody said, and go from there. So we have guests coming up.
Yes, sir. Who we got, Austin?
One confirmed for sure. So that's the only one I'm going to go with. What day is today? Sunday. So Tuesday, we have Chrissy Freud coming on. She is a contributor to Fansided, mostly known for her work in college football, a lot of SEC, specifically Georgia stuff.
Good timing.
Mm-hmm.
Draft just finished up.
Great timing. She was covering a lot of that. She also had did a sit-down interview with our boy JD6 before as well, which was really cool. KU quarterback, well, now Atlanta Falcon quarterback.
Could be a starter.
Yeah,
No doubt. I mean,
the competition is
I mean,
there.
it's a fierce competition, but he's a righty against two lefties. I like his chances.
Right out.
That means he can stand out.
I was about to say the same thing. The profile didn't fit with being a righty, so we were on the same wavelength there.
He might stand out. So she's definitely confirmed for Tuesday, and I'm going to wait for our potential Wednesday guest to 100% confirm before dropping any names. That one would be a huge one. So just if it happens, be on the lookout. But Tuesday, Chrissy Freud works college football, NFL, contributor to Fansided, and a bunch of other stuff as well. But basically, that's the gist of it. So Tuesday night, make sure to sub. And then Tuesday night, you'll get a notification saying the boys are going live with her. And you can just hit the little notification and our faces will pop right up.
Hell yeah. I will probably do a TikTok live tomorrow night to catch up with everybody as far as the draft's over with. So made the decision tonight that I wanted the guys to be here for the live. So we wanted to do a YouTube one instead of doing TikTok. Though the TikTok live the other night was absolutely bumping. What do you got?
He said he wanted the boys to be here live with him tonight, and we are. And you may not be able to see him, but Matt is here with us in spirit, as always, near and dear to our heart. But we did get to talk to him for a little bit today. We got to do our normal maybe quote. I feel like him and I got along too well today, so next time he checks in, I'm going to have to resort back. But Matt's always here with us in spirit. Go ahead, Cody. Let
me balance the scales. He texted me a graphic a couple of days ago before our draft day, and he wanted me to tell you, Austin, that you still suck. So there we go.
Okay. Nope, that's all we needed, right?
I forgot to pass that off to you on the live, but now I feel like it's an appropriate time to tell you that.
Well, if we're going to do that, my mom also said she doesn't care about your mental health, that she loves your crash outs.
That's okay. I still care about her.
Oh, wow. Way to take the higher road. That's not what's supposed to happen here. But yeah, just want to make sure we get our Matt plug in. We love him. He did check in with us today, and he seemed high spirited as ever. So just want to make sure we get a little Matt love in.
Hell yeah.
Plug the socials, Cody. Let's get ready to go home.
You guys, above my head there, you'll see a little handle that says @West War Room Rivals. You can follow that on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and also as you're watching this program on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as Corey said, he goes live on TikTok. He'll be there live tomorrow night. And then Tuesday and potentially Wednesday, we'll be live here on YouTube with some guests that Austin has booked. But keeping up with us in terms of graphics and videos, hang out with us at West War Room Rivals on the socials. And yeah, it sounds like a fun plan right there.
Yeah, make sure you hit Austin up. He's the one who will definitely work the schedule. He and Matt typically, but obviously Matt's not. So work with Austin. We're absolutely 100% looking for people to collaborate with during this season.
Well, shout out to Matt because he's still working behind the scenes. He got Jonathan Cooper to give his draft day story via Instagram message, but still working on that.
But just to let people know, we're not rude and saying in the middle of war, he needs to work on the war room stuff. He's just doing that because that's the kind of man he is. Mm-hmm. We're obviously took everything off of his plate. everything he's doing is just for the love of the show, for the love for us, and the love for you guys. He's still putting in that work when he can. So don't think we're still saying he has to do stuff while he's deployed. Like that. That's not what we're doing. Okay. He loves the show. He loves the boys. He loves what we're about. And he loves being able to do something for the followers while he still can, every chance he gets. So
100%. All right, fellas, anything else before we go?
Let's ride.
Let's ride. Oh, man.
All right,
Thanks
guys.
for tuning in, guys.
See you guys tomorrow.